Hi guys, today's video is a full breakdown of how to do a full body warm-up. So if you're going to do a full body training session or like any sort of sport in general that requires the full body, this is a good warm-up to do. Okay, the warm-up has 4 main parts. We do foam rolling first, then we work on some mobility drills. Following that there's some muscle activation work, and the final thing is some movement preparation. Okay, in general the warm-up should only take around 10 to maybe 15 minutes max to do. What I'm going to do today though is break down each exercise individually, give you the technique points for all of them so that you understand how to do each exercise in detail, and then I'll put up another video where I actually just go through the full warm-up without doing any explaining, and you can follow along then with that video as well. Okay, 4 pieces of equipment that we kind of need really for it is a foam roller. We also need 2 resistance bands, so I'll show you now. We've one kind of light resistance band, one that's slightly heavier. The light one is used for our upper body exercises, for muscle activation, and the slightly heavier band is for our lower body muscle activation exercises. The other piece of equipment we need then is just a light plate or a dumbbell, and we will also need to make use of a wall of some description, and I'll also use a rack or other piece of equipment like that at some stage. Okay, first exercise, first part of the warm-up we're going to do is our foam rolling, so let's get right into it. The foam rolling technique we're using is a kind of global foam rolling technique, so that just means we're doing the kind of full length of the muscle up and down. We're going to do that for the full body in general, and it's only going to be 5 reps or so in each body part. Okay, first thing we're doing is for our quad and our hip flexors in the lower body. So I'm laying down on the roller like so, my forearms are planted into the floor, my opposite leg is just bent up beside me at 90 degrees. On the leg that I'm going to roll, I have the foot up off the floor, as much of my weight on the roller as I can. It's just above my knee, and then I push my body back using my forearms and then pull myself back up. And I'm just going to do literally 5 reps of that with a bit of control up and down along the muscle. So this is going to give us a temporary improvement in our mobility, and we'll build upon that then in the mobility drills that we're going to do following this. From there, after the quad and hip flexor is done, we're going to do the IT band. So for this I'm turning onto the outside of the same leg. The roller is just above my knee again. You'll see I'm up on my hand this time. Top leg is bent like so, bottom leg is straight, and I'm trying to keep that bottom foot off the floor, and I just push myself up and down along the roller again. Literally just 5 reps up and down. From there then, we're going to do our adductor and our groin. So for this, the roller is straight in line with me. I have my leg bent out to 90 degrees like so. What I'm going to try to do is keep my hips somewhat square to the floor, and on the side of the straight leg I'm going to try to keep that knee off the floor if I can, and then just push myself in from knee to hip again, rolling out the adductor and the groin. That's 5 reps done there. Okay, following this then it's our hamstring. So the roller is going just above the back of my knee, plant my hands and push myself along the roller from there. Perfect. Then we just do glute. So for the glute, again I'm sticking with the same leg. I'm just going to cross the working leg over. I'm resting mainly just on the glute, so I'm taking care here not to go onto my lower back, and literally just making a small movement along that glute for 5 reps. That's the right side done. Okay, now obviously if you wanted and you had loads of time, you could spend way longer foam rolling your legs. Like you could pick maybe 3 different spots and just roll up and down on those for like 15-20 seconds each. Just because we're doing it as part of the warm-up, just to nearly get our body moving really, we're just doing the quick roll up and down of 5 reps in most of the muscle groups. So we're going to go back to our quad and hip flexor now again. So this time it's going on the left leg like so. So I have one leg bent out to the side, other foot is straight, roller just above the knee, plant my elbows and then just push myself up and down along the roller. Literally 5 reps. Perfect. From there then we're doing our IT band again. So I'm on my side, planting my hand, foot stays off the floor, and again I'm just pushing myself along the roller, going from knee to hip for 5 reps, just nice and controlled. If anything feels uncomfortable, you can obviously put more weight on your hands to take some weight off the roller, but ideally you'll get as much of your body weight onto it as you can. That's our IT band done again. From there then we're going to go back to our adductor and groin. So again I'm down, this time the working side leg is bent up at 90 degrees. I'm facing the ground with my hips, so hips square to the floor. Straight knee lifts off the ground, and then I push myself again just along the roller for 5 reps. Taking care in each position. Perfect. From there then hamstring again. So the 2 legs are straight, roller is just above the back of my knee, and I'm pushing myself along the roller again for 5 reps. Good. Last one then again on this side is our glute. So for the glute, working side leg crosses over. I'm resting just on the muscle of my glute, so I'm not going onto my lower back. And I'm literally just making small movement up and down for 5 reps with control. That's the lower body pretty much done. So for this warm up I generally just do the kind of the thigh. If you wanted to do the lower leg, calf area and all that, you could do that also if you like. I prefer just to stick with the kind of main musculature of the leg though. So from there we're going to do our upper body now. So we have a few to do for our thoracic spine and our shoulders. They're all kind of starting off in this position here. First thing you want to keep in mind here is not to roll out your lower back directly, okay? We want the musculature around our lumbar spine for stability, so we're not going to try and increase the mobility in those areas there, okay? So I'm just going to imagine rolling out the length of my rib cage, or just think of stopping roughly in your mid back every time, okay? From there, first one we're going to do is just regular rolling up and down. So I'm going to hug my arms forward to expose as much muscle as I can. Hips lift up off the floor, and then I use my heels to push myself up and down along the roller. So just going above my shoulder blades and then down to the middle of my spine for 5 reps. Perfect. From there then, we're going to park in the middle. This time the hips are staying on the floor. I have my hands just slightly holding the side of my head. I'm not pulling my head forward. Elbows pulled close together. I'm going to keep my chin somewhat tucked to my chest, and I'm going to imagine extending my spine out over the roller now. Then I come back up, I pull my heels forward, pull myself down like an inch or 2 on the roller, and extend again. You'll see I'm not like looking back here like this. I'm literally just trying to extend my spine without any stress on the neck. Pulling up, pulling up. So that one should take you kind of 3 to 5 reps to work your way up. Next one then, similar to that, but more so for the shoulders. I'm still just popping down on the roller, hips on the floor, chin tucked to the chest, arms straight, and I'm going to point with the thumbs back behind me, but I don't lose my position with my core. So keep your core somewhat tight now this time. Pull down a little bit lower, extend up, pulling down again, extending up. One more. Perfect. From there then, we're just going to do an overhead press. So this is the last one in this position. I'm down on my roller again. Arms are kind of bent out to 90 degrees. I try to get my forearm back parallel to the floor if I can, and I press overhead, trying to bring the arms together at the top. Pull the arms back out wider, come down, press up, pulling out wider again, come down, press up, and we'll do that one more time. Pressing up. Okay, so kind of 4 to 5 reps to work your way up the spine there. There are the few for our thoracic spine and our shoulders. I have 2 left for the upper body. This one now we're going to do is for our lats. So this is probably the nastiest one of all of them that you can do. For this, the roller is resting on my armpit. It's kind of horizontal to my body. Hand lifts up off the floor. You'll see my foot position in here then. So the top leg is bent at 90 degrees, and I have the knee kind of turned out with the heel in front of the shin of the opposite leg. Okay, so both of the legs are basically bent in the same shape. Top one goes in front of the bottom one and stays up off the floor. From here, my hips lift up off the ground. I can use my free hand to help me stabilize, and I just push myself up and down along the roller then, rolling out my lats. So this is by far the worst one out of all of them. So it's really important you remember here to try stay somewhat relaxed, and remember to breathe as you go along. Don't stay holding your breath and stay like really tight in your chest the whole time. Just try stay nice and relaxed, breathing in and out using your stomach on every rep. Switching sides then. So thumb up off the floor, Legs are like so. Top leg goes in front of the bottom one. Hips lift, and I just extend my legs forwards and backwards to move myself along the roller. Perfect. Last one then is for our pecs. So for the pecs, I am kneeling down. The roller isn't vertical or horizontal. I'm going halfway between the two, so it's diagonal to me. From there, I'm kneeling back onto my heels. I put my arm out at a kind of 45-degree angle as well. So if you imagine this is 0, this is 90, I'm at 45 degrees. Dropping my shoulder into the roller, and I'm going to extend my hips forward, and as I do that, I let the roller move along the center of my chest. And literally just doing 5 reps like that, trying to keep this hand up off the floor, rolling out my pec. Last part of the foam rolling series then is just to do that on the opposite side. So again, I'm going to flip the roller, kind of mirror the position. Kneeling down, shoulder drops into the front, extend forward, come back for 5 reps. Perfect, okay? And that's the foam rolling part of the warm-up done. That should only really take you 4, maybe 5 minutes max. Obviously we went through it a bit slower here so that I could explain to you what you're doing. Okay, we're going to move into the second part of the warm-up now, which is our mobility drills. Okay, so mobility drills for our full body warm-up. They're relatively low volume, so I'm only doing kind of 1 set of everything, and the max reps we'll be doing on anything is kind of 5 reps each side, so it doesn't take long to do. Good thing about this though is if you consistently do this as part of your warm-up, it's definitely going to have a better effect than if you only went maybe once or twice a week and spent an hour working on mobility, okay? So the consistency is what trumps all. You only need to spend maybe 5 minutes max a day as part of your warm-up doing it, and you'll definitely see improvements in your mobility for when you're training, okay? First exercise we're going to do requires the use of a wall, so we're just going to pop inside for that right now. Okay, so the first drill in the warm-up is a 90-90 hip lift with full exhale. So breathing drills like this are really good for reinforcing kind of proper breathing mechanics, similar to what you would do if you were bracing during like a big lift. And they also have a good effect on helping to prime the nervous system. So all we have to do is 5 breaths. My legs are up at 90 degrees, so I'm up against the wall. Back is flat to the floor here, and I'm keeping my right arm overhead with my thumb facing the floor, okay? I'm going to keep one hand across the body here like so, so I'm just keeping kind of grip of where my rib is, so I'm making sure it's not like arching up here. I'm trying to keep it fairly flat. I'm going to take a huge inhale, and what I'm going to try to do is fill my stomach up with air. So I'm not breathing up high into my chest here. You should actually feel your stomach raise up, like so. From there, as I exhale, what I'm going to do is posteriorly tilt my pelvis. So I'm not going to shoot up to the ceiling like this. I'm just going to fully exhale, push through my heels, and slightly lift my hips up off the floor. So you'll see here, instead of me being arched like this, I'm kind of posterior tilted, so I'm nice and flat with my lower back. And if you do that 5 times, so here's 1 rep, just to show you. So as I do that, you'll see that as I exhale fully, I'll feel my core tighten up quite a bit, and also my glutes. So obviously I'm activating the 2 of those at the same time. 3 more breaths in that position. You really exaggerate the breath. So in through the nose, fill up the stomach. So the whole time then, I'm not letting the knees cave in, I'm keeping them out like so. Okay, that's the first exercise in the warm-up mobility drills done. Second exercise we're going to do then is for mobilizing our adductor and our groin. So all I'm going to do is plant my hands to the ground in front of me. My knees are kind of bent like so, and I'm up on my toes on one leg. I plant the other foot out to the side here. All I'm going to do from here now is, while keeping lots of tension in my leg, is just sit back into my hips so I feel that stretch in the groin and hamstring, and then I come back up from there, and I just rock in and out of that position 5 times. So this is just mobilizing our adductor and our groin. From there I switch sides, so I plant the foot, put the foot out to the side, and then just rock forward and back again. So I like to just rock in and out of the position, but if you're working with a lot of time, it'd be no harm to literally pause, take a deep inhale and exhale, then come forward again and take your time doing the movement. Okay, that's the one for our adductor and our grind done. Next one we're going to do from there then is for our T-spine again. So all I'm going to do here is just sit back onto my heels. That's making sure I'm not going to rotate my lumbar spine. I'm literally just doing my thoracic spine or my upper spine. So literally hand on the head. I'm not pulling on my head though, and I'm just rotating up and down to the ceiling, trying to get that elbow right up to the sky every time for 5 reps. From there I switch sides, plant the hands, stay seated on the heels. Just doing 5 reps. Good. Next up then is one for our glutes. So for the one for our glutes, I'm going to cross one foot behind my knee, like so. From there, my knees are out kind of nice and wide apart from each other. The leg that's crossed over his knee is slightly in front. I stay on my toes. I'm trying to keep my hips square to the floor. And I'm going to sit my hips kind of out diagonally on the side of the leg that's crossed over. So I just rock back till I feel the stretch in my glute and come back up 5 times. Really important here that you don't just like fall down into the position because you won't feel it right. You have to try keep your hips kind of locked and slightly forward and square to the ground as you sit back, and you should feel that in your glutes. And you have to play around with the position to get the feeling right because we're all built differently. From there I switch sides, so foot plants down. I cross the ankle behind the back of my shin, so it's basically the finishing position for like a triangle choke in jiu-jitsu. And I'm just going to rock back again 5 times just to mobilize the glutes. Perfect. Next 2 drills we are going to do inside. Okay, so the next drill in the warm-up makes use of the wall. It's mobilization for our hip flexors. All I'm going to do is be in a half kneeling position. I use the wall for a bit of support. What I'm going to do from here, I'm basically in the bottom of a lunge. I make sure the front knee isn't caving in. I'm grabbing the ground with the front foot. Lift up the back heel like so. I'm going to make sure my back doesn't arch up, so I keep my chest down slightly. And all I'm going to do is drive my hips forward and try to pull my heel even further to my butt and come back. And I just do that 5 times each side. 3, so you should feel that stretch all along the hip flexor and the quad. Perfect. Same now on the opposite side. So I'm switching my stance around, grabbing on and pulling forward from there. So just mobilizing out that hip flexor and quad. 4, 5. Perfect. Next drill from there then is a mobilization for our calves. Okay, so calf mobility is really important to make sure that we're able to squat as deep as possible while keeping our torso fairly upright. So usually if you can't kind of squat deep, normally it'll mean that you're, usually you can have like poor ankle mobility, okay? So usually say if I'm dropping down into a squat and I'm not really bending my knees or letting my heels come forward, it'll force me to stay up high. As soon as I drive my knees forward more and use my ankle mobility more, I'm able to get down much deeper while remaining upright. Okay, so the mobility drill for the calves is fairly straightforward. All I need to do is elevate the kind of knuckle of my toes on any sort of step at all. It doesn't even need to be as high as this. From there, all I'm going to try to do, this is called a knee break ankle move. So all I'm going to do is try to drive my knees out past my toes. I don't want to shoot my hips forward here though. What I'm going to try to do is keep my hips where they are and at roughly the same level, and I'm trying to drive my knees forward from there. Now you won't get a lot of movement in it, but you should feel quite a lot of tension along your perineal muscles here, and we just do that for 5 reps, where I drive forward, hold it for a second, come back, drive forward, come back, and again, and just 1 more rep of that. So that's kind of the reason why you'll see sometimes the people will elevate their heels to squat down, because it allows them to hit greater depth. You're much better though to actually work on your ankle mobility and earn the movement properly. Okay? Okay guys, our last 2 drills then are ones that involve kind of the full body. So they're going to be a little bit tougher than the previous exercise that we've done, but they're slightly lower in reps. Okay? So the first one is a Cossack squat with a diagonal reach and an overhead reach. Okay? So my feet are out nice and wide apart. Both toes point straight ahead. I'm grabbing the ground with my feet to root them. From here, I'm going to go to one side. The side I go to is the leg that bends, and I'm just sitting down into my hips from here. So I'm feeling a bit of a stretch in the straight leg, and I'm working my hip to keep the knee out nice and wide on the bent side. From here, I keep my core nice and tight, so I don't let my back arch up. I imagine keeping my ribs down. I reach overhead, pointing my thumbs to the wall behind me, keeping the arm straight. Come back down, arm that's on the side of the straight leg, I turn out and rotate up. I come back up, coming down, core tight, reach overhead, down, rotate overhead. Okay, back down again, reaching up, down, rotating up again. We're just going to do 3 more reps of that, so it's 3 each side. Rocking down to one side, both arms reach up, come back down. Again, the arm on the side of the straight leg turns out and up. 1 more each side. So I'm cutting right down deep into my position. Both hands come up, down, rotating up. Last one on the opposite side. Reach up, down, rotate, come up. Okay, so if you can't get as deep as me into that position, that's fine. But don't be coming down and lifting your heel up off the floor. Work with the range you have while keeping the foot planted, trying to get right down. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Okay. Very last one then for our mobility and our warm-up is a squat to stand, again with a diagonal reach and an overhead reach. So I'm going to literally drop down into a hamstring stretch. So if I can, my feet are out kind of shoulder width apart, toes stay turned out slightly, and I'm kind of grabbing the ground with my feet the whole time, so I'm rooting my feet as if I'm doing a squat. From there I'm going to reach down and just try to stretch out my hamstrings. If I can't reach the floor, that's fine, just work with the range you have. From here I squat down, okay? So in the squat, it's chest up, knees out, feet stay flat on the floor. Try to get my hands inside my knees like so. And then from there, I'm going to reach overhead with my left hand. You see where I'm pointing my thumb to the wall behind me? Coming back down, right hand. So look up at it, coming down. From there, both hands up, and I stand up, okay? 2 more reps of that. Hamstring stretch, squat down. Left arm up, look up at it, keep the knees forced out wide. Right arm up, look up at it. Both arms up, thumbs point behind, coming back up. Last one. Hamstring stretch, squat down, left, right, both, and up. Okay? That's the second part of our warm-up done, our mobility drills. Okay guys, third part of our warm-up is muscle activation. Okay, so we've 3 kind of separate drills here to do. One is for our core, so obviously what's connecting our upper body and our lower body. Second part then is for activating all of the muscles in our upper body, and then the third part is for our lower body. Okay, now obviously we would have got some bit of muscle activation in during our mobility drills and our foam rolling, but what we really want to do is have the muscles nice and primed now for getting ready to work. Okay. The lower body part is first, or sorry, the core is what I like to do first. It's fairly straightforward. All I'm going to do is drop down into a plank position. I'm just doing 1 set of this. So my shoulders spread apart into the floor always, or I'm protracting my shoulder blades. I walk my feet back. From here, I want to make sure my core isn't arching down to the ground. I want to be slightly hollowed out. From there, I'm straightening my legs, and I'm going to keep my legs out at least shoulder width apart here. Okay. From here, I'm going to do a kind of leg march. So all I'm going to do is lock my legs straight, lift my heel up, down, same on the opposite side, and I just march left and right 10 times each side, so 20 reps in total. That's 10, so you should be feeling this in your glutes and also your core. Perfect, okay? Main thing we're trying to do there is not twist our hips as we do it, okay? Normally the wider out you put your legs, the easier stuff will be. You'll probably actually find it a little bit harder and much more intense on your glute the more that your leg reaches out away from your body there, okay? It's quite a good drill to do, and literally just 1 set of 10 reps a side, alright? Upper body then. So what we're going to do is use our light band for our upper body drills. What I'm going to be doing first is literally just 10 reps of a band dislocate. The reason I prefer to use a band for this over a stick is that the band will have a bit of give in it for the points where you get really tight, okay? And we can easily make it progress the movement as we get more mobile by literally holding in closer on the band, okay? So the widest grip I can take is like so, My hand is just, the band is resting around the outside of my hand. My thumbs are just keeping held locked in place. And all I'm doing is 10 reps over and back of my dislocate. Just again to help open up those shoulders while also activating the muscles pulling out. So I'm constantly pulling like out into the band. I'm keeping constant tension in it. Also making sure my core stays tight here so I don't like let my back arch up and cheat my way through the movement. I always imagine keeping my ribs down. Perfect. Second part for this, we need an anchor point, so we're going to go inside for this. It's face pulls. Okay, so for the second part of our muscle activation for the upper body, all I'm using is my light band again. I'm going to loop it around an apparatus like so, so a rack comes in handy. This can be done on the banisters or the stairs or any sort of apparatus at all. So to lock it in, I literally just shoot one end through like that, grab it and pull, okay? I'm going to be doing a face pull here. So basically I'm grabbing on, I have my core nice and tight. I'm going to pull the band towards my face, ideally towards my forehead, and I'm going to actually rotate my arms out as I pull as well, so externally rotating. As I do that, I need to make sure that my ribs don't flare up, so I'm keeping tight core position, pulling the band up nice and high, and I'm just doing 10 reps of that. 7, so you see my finishing position is out here, not pulled in like this. I'm trying to rotate out every time. Perfect. Okay, third part then of this, so it's a tricep, is literally just a pull apart. So I'm making sure my shoulders are packed kind of down, they're depressed and slightly retracted, and then I'm pulling the band to my chest. To make this harder, we can grip closer together. To make it easier, we grip wider. Obviously, to make it harder as well, we can double over the grip. Because we're only doing it for a warm-up though, it doesn't need to be crazy hard. We're just getting a bit of volume in here on some pulling exercises. Help protect our shoulders if we're doing high amounts of pushing, say a bench press or something like that. It's always good to have a greater volume of pulling exercises. That's one round of that done. So for this we do 2 rounds, so I literally just go straight back into my dislocates then again for 10 reps. Six, 7, 8. This will start burning like mad towards the end, but you'll recover from it quite quick. It's just because you have constant tension in the shoulders. Next part is back to our face pulls. Okay, so we're just back to our 10 reps of our face pull again. So again, I have my band looped through. I'm just holding a little bit kind of outside the width of my face, and I'm going to pull back and apart on the band every time. Pulling it up to my forehead, trying to externally rotate my shoulders on every rep for 10. And then we're straight back to our pull aparts. Third part then again is our pull aparts. 2. So you notice again, I'm not letting my ribs flare up. I'm keeping my core tight, ribs down, trying to pull them shoulder blades back and together on every rep. Not letting them lift up here, I'm keeping them depressed. Perfect, so that's 2 rounds of our upper body circuit done. Last part then is for the lower body, okay? So what I'm doing here is a band glute bridge, and I'm also going to mix in a glute bridge clamp. So basically I set the band up like so. I'm holding it in the middle. I have 2 loops there for my feet to go into. So literally locking the feet in. From there I pull the band down like so. This is my starting position pretty much, okay? It's 2 rounds again. All I'm going to do here, heels pull in as close to me as I can get them. Keep the toes up off the floor to use the glutes even more. And I keep my knees out wider than my feet, okay? I'm also going to keep my shoulders up off the floor here slightly. The reason I do that is if I'm down like this with my back flat and I'm not conscious of my core position, I'm going to tend to let my back arch up way more and be doing most of the work. Rather than if I just keep my shoulders up off the floor, as soon as I lift, it's much harder for me to hyperextend my back, and I'm just using my glutes and my hips to lock out the movement, okay? So it's 10 reps, up and down. 3, 4, 5, knees wide the whole time. 8, 9, 10. On the top of the 10th rep, I hold the top position and I try to drive my knees in and out wide. I don't bring them close together, they're just wide and wider for 10 reps. So I'm really activating those glutes as much as possible. Perfect, that's that done. From there then I'm straight back into my glute bridges up and down, and I just do 2 rounds. back then to 10 clams or abductions in the top of our glute bridge position. Perfect. Okay, and that is our muscle activation part of the warm-up done. So just those 3 drills. The last part of our warm-up is movement prep. Okay, so usually if you're going to be doing a full body session, there's a high chance that you'll be doing some sort of squat exercise, some sort of hip hinge exercise like a deadlift, and also some sort of horizontal kind of pushing and pulling movement in general. Okay, so obviously what we're going to do then to warm up and prepare for those movements is just literally do those movements. Literally all we're going to do is 3 reps each of a light goblet squat with a really light weight, 3 reps of an RDL, so Romanian deadlift with our light plate again. We're going to do 3 push-ups and then 3 inverted rows. Okay, 2 rounds of that. So literally first up is our squats. So I'm holding the plate in my goblet position, my feet are out shoulder width apart, toes turned out slightly. I'm grabbing the ground with the feet and rooting the feet, so I'm getting set up as if this was like a really heavy weight. There should be no difference in how I perform the reps. So the plate is nice and tight to my chest. I'm going to breathe and brace, drop down into my squat, and then shoot back up from there, squeezing tight with the lockout at the top. Dropping down, back up, down, back up. That's my 3 reps done, just to prepare myself for the movement. For our RDL then, I just like to hold the plate like so, with my fingertips, locking my shoulders back. My legs are just wide enough to let the plate drop between them. And then from there, grabbing the ground again with the feet, this time the toes point straight ahead. I sit back into my hips and then lock forward from there. So you'll see here, I'm mainly doing an RDL, which is working my hamstrings a lot more. I'm not really letting my knees come forward here. I'm keeping my hips high and sitting them back, and my upper body comes down without bending, like so. Okay, so I sit back into my hips, squeeze up really tight, be aggressive with the lockout, squeeze up, squeeze up. That's my 3 reps there. Okay, for our push-ups then, literally I'm in the top of my push-up position, so I'm kind of grabbing the ground with my hands as well. They're not just loose and flat. Lifting into my kind of top of the push-up position. So here we're taking care not to drop our belly down towards the floor, keeping the core nice and tight. At the top, my shoulder blades are protracted. As I come down to the floor, my upper arm is at 45 degrees to my body. My shoulder blades retract and I come back up. So I have to be able to like move my shoulder blades in the push-up position without losing my core position. Okay, so I'm nice and tight, coming down, exploding back up. 1, 2, 3. Nice and crisp with the movement. Okay, for the inverted rows, we'll just pop inside real quick. Okay, so our other movement prep drill for upper body is an inverted row. So obviously our horizontal pull to balance out the horizontal push we did with our push-ups. So ideal scenario here, you would have a suspension trainer, but I'll also show you how to do it if you just have a rack set up with a barbell. You could also do this off literally a kitchen table. So if I'm doing inverted rows and grabbing on, my arms are straight starting off. There's constant tension in the strap. I like to keep my toes up off the floor if I can as well, so I feel like lots of tension through my entire body. However, if your floor slippy or whatever and you have to keep the feet flat, that's fine. Just make sure your hips aren't sagging at the bottom and that you aren't hyperextending your back at the top. You just have a straight line from your head to your heels. So starting off, I'm going to put my hands up towards my chest. I'm also going to rotate till they face each other and then back down with control. So palms are facing the floor at the start. At the finish, they're facing each other. Back down. I have a bit of a gap between my elbow and my body at the top, and I'm trying to squeeze my shoulder blades down, back and together on every rep. So the finishing position here is nearly the same position that we're in at the bottom of our push-ups and back up. And we just do 3 nice explosive reps for that. And then we go back to our push-ups again, okay? If you have to do it with a bar or a bar and a rack, we can just set it up like so. Pop down to the floor. Hips lift up off the ground, same thing, 3 reps, trying to get the chest up to the bar every time. Okay, obviously you can change your leverage quite easily here to make it easier. I can just have the bar up higher, or if I'm doing it with my straps, the more upright I stand, the easier it'll be. So if I'm up here, it's obviously easier than if I'm right down here. Okay, so use the appropriate leverage that you need. Obviously you could also do it off a kitchen table at home, so just lay down underneath the table and grab onto the edge. Use a sturdy table. And we're back out now just for our second round of that circuit. So literally feet out shoulder width apart again. rooting the feet into the floor, squeezing nice and tight at the top of the upper body, breathe and brace, drop down, chest up, knees wide, feet stay flat on the floor, then come back up. 2, 3. Second part is our RDL. So I'm sitting back into my hips, coming back up, feeling all that tension in the hamstrings, exploding up. 2, 3, so no bend in the back at all. Last 2 then are our push-ups again. So again, shoulders retracted at the top, core sucked in nice and tight, shoulders pulled together at the bottom, then drive back up. 2, 3. Last part then is our rows again. Okay, so second round of inverted rows. We're back again, grabbing on, palms face the floor, straight line from head to heels. Pull and twist, and squeeze those shoulder blades back in together for 3 reps, okay? Or again, if you're doing it with your bar, just be set up, overhand grip, grabbing on nice and tight, hips lock up into place. 1, 2, 3. Chest the bar every time, and that's the rows done. Okay, so that's our full body warm-up done. Warm-ups are kind of used really for 4 things, okay? You can think of it as a ramp-up protocol, or ramp. So R stands for raise, A stands for activate, M for mobilize, P for potentiate, okay? So for raise, obviously we're raising our body temperature. For activate, we're activating all of the musculature that we're going to need to use. M for mobilize, so obviously we are mobilizing our joints to decrease our risk of injury. P then is for potentiate, so we're activating our nervous system to be able to fire and just use our body as efficiently as possible for the exercise that we're going to do, okay? In terms of potentiation, there is like 1 or 2 extra drills you could do at the end of your warm-up to really get your nervous system as excited as possible. All you have to do first off is literally just tweak the push-ups that we already did and turn them into like a hand release push-up. So basically what I would do there, instead of my 3 regular push-ups, I would come down and then explode back up so my hands lift up off the floor. Come down, explode up, okay? That's literally how you can just change the push-up to get even more of a potentiating factor of it. One other exercise I would do then for potentiating the lower body a bit more would be a standing broad jump, okay? So all I would do, stand, feet out shoulder width apart, load back into my hips, launch forward, land with control, same again, okay? Just 3 reps, we can do kind of 2 rounds of it or whatever, we can work it into the end of our movement prep if we want. Load back into the hips, launch forward, land with control. 1 more, so I'm doing a counter movement. I load back into my hips. When I launch for a second in the air, my arms are up overhead, so I've got triple extension of the lower body as well. Ankles, knees, hips, everything locks out straight. Literally 1 more, and landing with control back up, okay? So there's just like 2 other drills you could stick into the warm-up as well. Other than that, you'd be fine with all the other drills we've already done, okay? The warm-up, you'll see in the other video I'm going to stick in where I literally just go through the full warm-up. It takes me pretty much 10 minutes to get through it. At the start, when you're only learning how to do it, it could take you 15 minutes maybe max. I definitely wouldn't look at that though as something to be afraid of. It's 15 minutes that you're investing in yourself and your movement and your mobility, okay? It may feel like a workout in itself at the start when you're not used to doing it, but after a while it becomes second nature. And you could become like me after a while and not really feel like you're performing as well if you don't do a warm-up that contains those 4 parts, okay? So give it a try and see does your workout go any better. If you find it useful, don't be afraid to drop a like and hit subscribe to the channel. Thanks guys.